All right, so if I'd like to get something inside some value inside of the tables, some data, I'm going to insert some records, I need to use this insert into. Whenever I'd like to make some change to the values, I need to use this kind of update. And delete is to delete the row, like the whole record. Now let me show you what this is going to do with our table T1. Remember, T1 is just has C1, C2. Let me describe it. Describe T1. So it just had like two columns, C1, C2. The one in int, the second one is double. I could have used maybe a third one to have a text or whatever. Let's just add that just to work with that. I'm going to alter the table. Oh, there's something I didn't show you though. It's the modify, because I can use modify a column. This modify column can be used if you'd like to change the name of a column or change the data type of a column, or both, the name and data type. So for example, you see this double here. I'm going to alter table T1 and I'm going to modify this column C2 to be varchar. Remember, I can put varchar. Let's put it 15. No, thanks too much. So now what is going to happen is just this C2, instead of being a double, is going to be varchar. But let's make sure that I'm doing it right, because I just need to modify. The column is optional, so this column is optional. If I remove it, that's fine. But then I need just to mention the column name and the column definition. If I'd like to mention after change the place where this column is, I can change the place. It was the second, I can put it at the first, for example, something like that. I can do that if I want to, but I don't. So now what this is going to do, this is going to change now. Instead of being double, if I describe the T1, I'm going to see now it's a varchar. This C2 is varchar. If I want to rename it, I could have just named it C3, for example, but then it's not going to be C3, because how does it know C3? Doing so, it's just going to change the data type. So anyways, let's just focus on inserting something. If I'd like to insert, this is the syntax. Insert into, you need to mention the table name, and then there's two options, the two ways. The short way is to immediately after the table, you just put the values. And in the values, you need to, inside parentheses, you put the value that you would like to put in each one of the columns in the order they are in the table. So, for example, I can mention now this is 1, and as a text say Muhammad. Now I can just copy and paste, which is I'm going to answer now two things, 2, and then let's say, because I'm lazy, I'm just going to do this. Now if I run these two, it's just going to say I have an error in my statements. What is that error? And now you can see that, you see I have a problem, because when I selected something like this, it tried just to run based on my selection. You see, I see that because if you look here, it says near, and then it says insert. There's no I for the insert, which means if you'd like this to be run, I need to select them completely. Then if I run them, no problems. Now I have two things inside here, two rows that were added. How to see them? Select star from T1. Select star from T1 is going to show this is your table and these are your values. If I'd like to insert more, can I run this again? If I try to run this again, it will tell me no, you can't. Why? This is a primary key, so I cannot have the same number again. But if I make it 3, now I run, alaikum salam, it's not a problem. So now it just shows Muhammad 1 is repeated here, And that's not a problem because we never mentioned that this should be unique, no repetitions. We just said that this is the one that should be a primary key. So that's fine. And this one, if I'd like to add another one, 4, this is how I insert that. Now, there's another way, which is by mentioning the name of the columns. This is C1, C2, and these are the values inside of C1 and C2. I'm not sure to understand your question. I'm still not understanding what you mean. You have to write. I deleted C1 and C2. Where did you see that I deleted that? In the insert?
You mean Muhammad 1, Muhammad 2, 1, 2, 3. You deleted them.
Oh, you mean this? When I do this, for example, if I delete this and look here. Oh, that's a good point. Now, this is a statement, this is an instruction. If I run this, the instruction, it goes and be stored in the table. The result of that is in the table. If I delete the instruction, I'm not deleting from the table. I just delete just from the instruction. Now the table is not touched. If I'd like to delete from that, I need to use the command to delete. For example, delete from T1. Now doing delete from T1 without putting any condition is going to delete everything, which means if I just like to see what's inside, nothing. Everything is gone. And if I'd like to insert them again, I need to have this insert. Now these are just the code. After you do that, the code in the tables, if they are affected, they're not changed unless you do another code that will affect them. So I need to insert into T1. I would like to show another way to insert. Now the other way is to mention the column names, like this. And then you can say this is 1, and then Muhammad again. Now doing so, what it means that this is the first one is go here in the first one, second one you go into the second one. Yes?
What's the difference between describe and select?
Describe shows you the columns, their data type, and the select shows you the data inside of the table. Now let's have a look. Before I execute this one, let's describe T1. I'm going to describe T1 and then run this one as well. So this is describe T1. You see the type of information that we got? You get from it? It tells you data type, if it's a primary key, which one. And here, it shows you what's inside of the table. What are the values inside of the table? This shows you the structure. This shows you the data. Now I'd like to insert something, and I'm doing it this way. Now if I select, I'm going to see that it's entered. Now the advantage of this one is just to make sure that you enter things into the right place, because what if I just do this? Well, if I don't mention anything and I run this thing, just this one, it tells me column count doesn't match value count at row 1, which means now I need to insert two things and I'm inserting only one. Now let me just insert these two things. If I don't mention the columns, I need to be careful and put the correct order as they are created. But if I don't want to put the order that I created them in, I would like to, for whatever reason, to have them changed, I can, but this time I need just to mention that this goes in C2 and this goes in C1. So this is okay, as you can see, and I can just select it again, and I can see now this is entered. So if I'd like to insert, I can either just use the table name without the columns, but I need to respect the order of the table, of the columns in the table, or I can just mention them. Now I'd like to mention something. You see, I'm just using double quotes But if you use one single quote, it's still okay. Let me put this number 3. But I'd like to, because I'm saying, okay, this is okay now. You see, this number 3 is also Abdullah, and I'm running it again. This is in the table again. So double quote, single quote, doesn't matter. And what doesn't matter even more, even the int, if you put it like this, it's not a problem. Let's put this as before, and we have another Abdullah, and that's not a problem anymore either. You see? But internally it's stored as an int, even though you use this single quote. So internally it's stored the right way, but you can use that. Now the only thing that you cannot use is this, because it has a meaning. If you use this, now it means this is like some kind of a name of a column, and it's going to tell you what there's a problem. There's no unknown column Abdullah. It's like it's looking for a column Abdullah, but there's no column Abdullah. So this weird single quote is it has a meaning, and also you cannot use it without these quotes. Like this, it will be understood also like it's like some kind of a column. So you have the option either 1 or 2. Nothing is reserved for something else. We're going to use that nothing without another time, but for now just make sure that you always put either one single quote or double quotes. Try to be standardized and use the same pattern all the time. Don't sometimes use double quotes, sometimes single quotes. You're going to get confused. Use one and follow it. One way to not get confused. So this is the insert. We've seen delete. If I'd like to delete a specific column, I don't want to delete everything, I just would like to delete some of the things, I can put a condition. In the condition I put it where? This is where I put my condition. Now delete T1 where, for example, I can say C2 is equal to Abdullah. So this is going to remove 3 columns. It deletes the rows. Yes, it deletes the whole row. Now if I run this thing, it went green, that means it's okay. Let's look at the data. Now all the 3 columns, 3 rows where the column C2 was Abdullah are gone. Yes. A good question, I have no idea. Let's try. If I use, for example, Muhammad, I think it should be capital letter and lowercase. It needs to be, for the text, they need to be taken into consideration. If I remove this, normally it should not. It should be executed because there's no mistake. But if I look at it, it should stay there. No, it's gone. Okay. So, thanks for asking, and be careful about the spelling, because lowercase, capital letters, or lowercase, it doesn't matter. Which is weird, actually, as I was not expecting that. So we deleted some things. So let's just insert something. Insert into T1 again. Values. That's what you need to insert. And let's say 1. I did not mention the columns, so I need to respect the order.
So if I mention the column, I can do the other.
In other, yes. In other kind of order. Now if I entered and then select again, so I have this one. So this is the delete. If you'd like to put more conditions, you can. You can put more conditions like in the where. It can be and something else, and C1 is greater than whatever, or C2 is equal to Abdullah, for example. So you can put a lot of these things. And now you notice that this where here has the same feature, the same function of what we were doing. If you remember this select here, you see that this selects when we were putting conditions. This is putting conditions on the rows. I would like to see only those that respect this condition. So this is the select, and this is where this goes. This is the where. So the where is where I put my conditions, and I can put different conditions there with the and or. Of course, if I'd like to put parentheses to make it more clear, so this and this, or that thing, or maybe put this and this or this. So it's this is going to be making things clear. So we saw the insert, the delete. If you don't put anywhere, like after this delete, what is going to happen? It deletes all the values, all the columns, all the records of the table. All the data is gone. So it's like emptying the table. Now, the last one is the update. Now, to do this, I would like to add some more data. So I'd like to show this. I'd like to add 3, and then again, I'll just change this and press Control Enter to execute only this row when I have the cursor in. So if I just run this one, I'm going to see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Now, what I'd like to show you is that if I'd like to change some column, for example, this Muhammad here, I would like to change it to Muhammad 1. So I'm going to say update T1, set the column that I would like to change to be Muhammad 1. But if I just do this, now what is going to happen? If I don't put any condition, all of them are going to be Muhammad 1. I need to mention something. I need to put a condition. Where what? Where, for example, C1 is equal to 1. Or I can use or C2 is equal to Muhammad. Now doing this is just going to run fine. And if I look at it now, I have C1, this first one to be Muhammad. Now I can, for example, set Muhammad Muhammad 5, where C1 is greater than 1. So for 2, for example. For 3 and 4, all of them I wanted to be Muhammad 5. So if I run this thing, so both of these are going to be, because both of these are respecting this condition. There's C1 of these are above 2. And if I don't put any condition and I run, I just put C2 to be Muhammad in all the table, this is what is going to happen. All of them. So whenever you'd like to change something or to delete something, without where, you're in danger. You need to know what you're doing. So update, delete, usually you should put where there's a condition afterwards. If you don't put a condition, make sure that you know what you're doing. Now the insert, there's nowhere. You just need to insert, and you can specify the type of data and in which order. There was a question?
To show the select, you double click on it.
No, I click on it and then Control and Enter, which is the equivalent of this thing. Execute the statement under the cursor. It's like clicking here. So if I only run the line where the instruction that I'm having the cursor on. Yes.
You put select C1 from T1.
Yes. Now this is the other part I want to talk about. But let's take the other questions before talking about the select. Yes.
Can we use where on select?
Yes, exactly. And I'm going to go with the select because I just want to finish with the insert, update, and delete. Now the select, I can do a lot of things with select. I can here, star means everything, all the columns. But if I'd like to just display one of them, I can mention which one I'd like to display. If I would like to display like 2 or 3, just I can display which one I'd like to, if the table has more, I can display which ones just with the comma. So I'll select C1 from T1. This is going to display only the column C1.
Can also put condition, right?
Of course. Now this is the equivalent of this. That what I did with select this without any condition is like I'm doing just this without any condition, without the select. Just project only the column from this table. If I'd like to put like also the condition, I can say select C1 from T1 where C2 is equal to Abdullah, for example. I know that there's no Abdullah, So it's going to show me empty. There's not. But if I just say is Muhammad, now it shows me all of them. Now what if I change, for example, I update C2 to be Muhammad 5, where the C1 is greater than 2. So I can just now I'm not going to see all of them, because now Muhammad the 1 and 2, they're still Muhammad, but the 3 and 4, they're Muhammad 5 now. So if I ask to show only those that are Muhammad, I'm going to see only 1 and 2. So that's the main thing. I can put a lot of conditions here to be able to accommodate what I'd like to extract. Yes. Well, if you'd like to update the foreign key and primary key, you need to do alter table, not update. Update is for the data, alter for the structure, for the table. The column name, okay, that's something that if you'd like to change it in the table, you have to use alter. But what you can do also with the select, you can display something different here. You can change the display, only the display, but not the table. For example, this select C1 as primary key. Now what is going to happen is that you can see here the title now is not C1, we just changed it. But this is not something we are, I mean, I think even without as, you can just do this, it will do the same thing, primary key. So you can just rename the columns so that you look at, that you see. And that's what I'd like to show you for now. I'd like you to try to practice those things. First of all, we need to be able to convert what we used to do, like these ones, and convert them to the select. So basically, these are the different questions, and what we did in the previous week, previous 2 weeks actually, 2 weeks ago, we converted each one of them to this relational algebra. Each one of them. Now what I'd like you to do is to convert this relational algebra to this SQL. And this is how it works. Very simple. When you have this projection, you put them next to the select. So this first name is the initial, last name. These are the columns that I'd like to see. I put them next to the select. The table, it's in from the from. And where? This is where I put the condition that is here. I'll put the condition there. That's simple. Now it's going to be a little bit weird when you have more than one table. You remember that we had some situations when you have more than one table, like you have joining things together. But joining things together is just adding an extra condition. So the where is going to be having the condition. So I'd like you now just to convert these to the select, and then what we're going to be doing, we're going to be showing and working with those on MySQL. All right? So you have the questions. I need them to be in the select. Let me free you for that and stop the recording.